Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Love It or Shove It. And today I'm here, Irina Portnova, with my co-host Bruno Gill, and we have the guest, Shanne Carvalho. Shanne, please say a couple of words about yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, guys. I'm actually, Shanne Carvalho, Portuguese descent, live here on the west coast of the United States in California. I know you guys are all over the place, so figure we share because you probably have people all over the world listening. But yeah, I live here just south of the Bay Area on the beautiful Monterey Bay, and I was the firstborn in this country. Parents are from the Azores Islands, Portugal, and I am a licensed real estate broker and general contractor, and I have made my career, that's my 25th year, in everything real estate. We buy them, fix them, flip them, sell them, remodel them, finance them. And when I'm not busy working, doing all that, I have a variety of hobbies. And then, of course, I'm always looking for personal growth. And so, just my experiences, this topic kind of leads into part of my life from, reading a lot, being well read, and really enjoying just the social interactions, right? I'm a people person, and just from all the years in business, I love engaging in conversation and discussion, on a variety of topics. And so, yeah, relationships, that's awesome. I'm excited to be here. Thank you guys.
Woohoo! Awesome. Thank you so much. And today is the topic of, I think it's our Toby. Today's topic is, hey Toby, it's so great to see you. You're our the greatest supporter and fan. All right, so let's just dive into our topic, and please, Toby, participate. So today we are going to be talking about the role of the patience in relationships. And as we were talking about with Shanne before we got live, patience is required for everything, not only for the relationships, right? So it's a great trait that we all can practice and make it more valuable in our everyday life. So let's just dive in. Why is it important to have the patience in relationships? Shanne.
Well, I mean, I had mentioned previously, patience, when it comes to relationships, there's all sorts of relationships. And I know that, I know on your show you like to dive into, romantic relationships, and, we'll definitely get in there too. But I just quickly wanted to share that, patience in business has created a lot of success. It's been powerful. This is my 25th year in the industry. And, as a young, testosterone driven male in my early 20s, I had a short fuse. I wasn't patient. I'd get so fired up and so frustrated. And I didn't realize that I would lose my power, my negotiating power, my ability to convince, or to, for instance, I used to get really angry with one of my bosses, like the president and the vice president of the company I used to work for at one point. I'd get so frustrated with them and the decisions they were making. And I wanted to convince them why it didn't work and what I wanted to do. But I would be so impatient and so irritated, I could never get anywhere with them. So believe it or not, it was this coach that helped me. And this coach launched my entire career. After working with this coach, he taught me how to just step back, stay calm, and really be patient. And he made me such a strong negotiator that they would no longer meet with me one-on-one. The only time they would meet with me to talk about company business was if they were both together. Because I got to the point where, because I'm already a good negotiator, I just had that, didn't have that patience. I would elevate the temper too quickly. And so as you get older, you naturally should mellow out. I mean, I say should because I know people my age that are still hot. Even like my uncle that's in his 60s that'll still lose his shit. You know what I mean? Like some people just never develop it. But I think for me, as you get older and more mature and have more experiences, some of us really settle down and learn how to be calm. And so just that patience has been a powerful tool in my business, in my career. And it also allows you not to be overly impulsive, because forget about just like negotiating or trying to make a point, but also the point of, like, I'm a really good poker player. I played some professional poker years back, like tournament poker and such. And one thing about that game is being very analytical and really trying to make good decisions, but being patient and not showing too much emotion. It's almost like manipulating the opposition. Not that I want to be a manipulator, but it just, I'm telling you, this whole patience thing is just so powerful. But I mean, I want to pass it off to you guys because I could talk about this for hours. But I guess that's a good example to start with from my experience.
Can I just add one thing, and then Bruno, you can take the stage. Like that's a good point, like you mentioned, Shanne. And what I think, patience, first of all, it serves ourselves. It's not for the benefit of others necessarily, but first and foremost, it's for ourselves. Because once we learn how to be patient, we actually exclude ourselves from any drama. And it serves great for our nervous system, and it serves great for our emotional, physical, and mental health, and spiritual as well. All right.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, now I'm passing to Bruno. So Bruno, what do you think about patience? Shanne, you got a fan.
You do, man. Like, what the shit? Like, bro, she's obsessed with you, bro. No, she's awesome. Toby's the best. Toby's just remarkable.
Yes, she's our
She's
fan.
a remarkable human being.
Our
She's
friend.
really remarkable. Anyway, so number one, you're talking about poker, bro. Daniel Negreanu is like the shit, bro. What the fuck? Those guys' calls is like ridiculous. What the fuck, bro? Like, yeah, 2 pairs of aces, yeah, whatever. Fuck off,
Well, but patience to think things through, right? Like,
yeah, exactly, bro.
Not being patient, being overly emotional, you make impulsive decisions.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right?
And
Absolutely.
so that guy's a master. I really admire him.
Yeah. So, and then number two is like, it's just like Shanne was saying as well, right? It's just like, you can't be angry. You can't lose your shit like very fast. You can't be, hot-tempered, right? And if you are, you gotta learn how to control it, right? Take it step by step, because like, there's a difference between having a framework. No, I'm not even gonna say a script. I'm gonna say there's a difference between having a framework and wanting to do things your way, right? And I believe like the more we want to do things our way instead of really being patient, the more we're gonna screw things up. Because like that's all kind of like that's your ego trying to come out of you, saying like you have to control this, you have to know this, you have to know that, right? Not really. I mean, when it comes to relationships, or with business from relationships it's not that different, but it's still a little bit, right? Because because the relationship you have to somebody is not so much of an emotional one. In business is more of a professional, right? But obviously in relationships, right, it's I think I think sometimes people spend so much time in their own mind, they actually forget they're like engaged, or they forget they're whatever. They don't really forget it, but they just don't open up, right? It's like, it's important to, come, train yourself to come back to your senses and go, no, wait a second, I have a wife that I can open up to, ask her about this, right? And, there should always be that thing in your mind where like, wait, like, no, like my wife will listen to me, right? My wife won't think that I'm some chicken. My wife will listen to me. And if she doesn't listen to me, then she's not for me, right? Because... Right, this is what I believe, right? And that's the same thing with women, right?
Laying down the law. Wait till she sees the playback.
But at the same
He's
time,
talking about it because he doesn't have the wife. That's why he can talk about it.
Oh no!
I
like-
don't have the wife.
Yeah,
I don't have the wife.
that's why he can say these things. Wait till he get married.
You'll have to provide the old footage. You'll have to provide the old footage before the wedding.
It's
By the
gonna
way-
be so much different.
By the way, fiance, check out what you're in for. No, I agree with you though. No, you're making a good point. I like to have fun with these things, but yeah, you're making a good point.
Sorry about that. No worries.
You know what I wanted to add in regarding patience? Like I was always the one to exercise patience in any, like my past relationship and my current relationship.
Why it's a past relationship? Yeah.
Yeah, in my past relationships, like when I had, like boyfriends, right? When
You were
we fight.
patient till it ran out.
No, it just I became wiser.
You're like, next
But
show, another topic.
right. But
How much do you
exactly
take
right.
before you kick him to the curb?
Yes, but my point is that you know what, when I say that, first of all, patients serve us good, because I remember in these, like, heated situations, I always knew how to step back, because there was no point to involve in the fight. And that's exactly what I love, to approach this is like my methodology, the way I handle the situation. If I see that the person is heated, I just step back. I take a pause, right? Because obviously, in the in the fight, in the argument, we are all heated up, and we all could say, like, bad words to each other. But there is no need for that, right? Because people don't realize when they actually burst out and send out all that negativity, they are actually making harm not only to the person that they are speaking to, but to themselves as well. So I was always very conscious about it. And for me, like, why would I have to entertain somebody's negative behavior? I would just step aside and just mind my business. But it's like, being patient, it requires a lot of conscious behavior, and also knowing the tools, right? Because we all can be patient, but it's all about knowing the tools, which I'll share at the end of the episode. Because once you have the tools to use, you become more mellow, right? You become more patient, and you handle the situation different, and you have a different perception on the situation itself. Shane, what does it come for you?
No, I totally agree. And I mean, even in my like romantic relationships, I've gotten a lot more patient over the years, and been less to engage. I mean, one thing I really learned, especially when I got burned, whether it's in a romantic relationship or a business relationship or whatever, I got really clear on the fact that all that anger and all that frustration and all that irritation and regret was actually hurting my health, affecting my health. I couldn't have peace. I couldn't give myself peace. And so I definitely learned how to not carry that. We're only human, so sometimes we will revert. I had moments in the last few months where I got really burned by somebody, and I was just angry beyond belief. But I think that there's a couple parts to that, because I think another thing about being patient, it's easier to be patient when you realize that not everything's about you, right? So whether it's your romantic partner that's having a moment or a meltdown or whatever, we always assume it's because of us. We don't realize that there's other things going on for people in their lives, and sometimes they could completely be like, telling you off or whatever, and you're taking it so personal, when realistically they just had a bad day. Like, for instance, yesterday I politely asked this lady that was parked. We were trying to back a truck and trailer into my driveway yesterday, and this lady parked in the way where it was obstructing some lady that was doing some landscape work next door or whatever. Well, I politely just said, hey, do you mind just maybe moving forward a little more just so that we can get into the driveway? And she like got all angry, and she went in front of like four of us. She went and jumped in her truck and like peeled out to move her truck like 20 feet. It was just all pouty faced and stuff. And then the guys were laughing. I was telling them, hey, don't laugh in front of her, because that's, that's, I don't want to aggravate the situation. But then after she went away, I told them, I go, hey guys, she's obviously dealing with something, because politely asking somebody just to move down just a little more so you can get in your driveway, that shouldn't offend you or make you that angry that you're gonna like rev your truck and peel out like to move your truck 20 feet. So basically, I love your audience, by the way. I can see messages popping up.
It's Toby.
But
Toby is our best.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
God.
the realist, man. She's the realist.
So, but anyway, so I guess my whole point is that, when you learn that it's not always about you, it makes it even easier not to get worked up. Like, I've become a lot more patient, realizing that a lot of times people are just in their own feelings, their own minds, their own issues, and they have nothing to do with you. And the thing is, what you were saying earlier about, the words that you say and how it could be damaging, you can't unsay something. You know what I mean? I know now on iPhones, there's that unsend feature. You do it right away. But there's not an unsend feature for us yet, right? because that'd be awesome if we could unsend what we say. But you can't take your words back, so you want to really flex that muscle and really work that patience muscle, because especially in romantic relationships, once you lose respect for each other, that's the end. That's done. Like, you lose respect, it's hard to come back from that. You can come back from mistakes or little disagreements or whatever, but if it gets to the point of just massive disrespect, bad language, maybe even assaulting your partner, like, you just can't come back from that. Like, you can't, to rebuild trust and come back. I mean, relationships are already hard just starting neutral, but if it gets to that point, I know that's why you're single, I get it. But anyway, that's my opinion there, Irina.
Oh my God, Shane, you have to read these comments from Toby. I'm just like cracking up.
Like, she
Hey, that's funny, except the other part is that she has a female partner, so that would be interesting. Is it like converting like a vegetarian into a meat eater? I mean, could I possibly? That is a good point, right? But she would show up a lot with her partner, her female partner. So, I mean, am I hot enough to pull that off? Like, it's like, I mean, I have converted a couple vegetarians. No, I don't know about this. That'd be awesome though, right? You imagine putting that notch on your bedpost? Yeah, I once converted a lesbian. Like, that'd be awesome.
Oh my gosh, this is funny.
No, but that was a good observation. I mean, there's a chance. I mean, sometimes, and you're talking about egos earlier. It's not just men that get up in their egos. Sometimes it's women. You approach a woman, some women are like that. Oh yeah, they always want my number. He probably wants my number. Just, and he's like, yeah, no, sorry, just move your truck. You know what I mean? Just like, you just see that whole scoffing. That was a bad Valley Girl impersonation, but you know what I'm saying though, right? Like, I get that. It could be a misperception as well.
But Shane, this is so true. Like you said, we never know what another person is going through, right? So just because somebody could be triggered at one point, right? So if somebody is triggered, maybe they have a rough day. We never know what's going on, right? So for us, it's important to be patient and just kind of, at least be neutral, right, to the situation, not to get ourselves like charged up and aggravated, because guess what? That person leaves and you are still like processing these emotions. And sometimes people are with these emotions, like even with the partners, they're just going through these emotions like the entire day. And guess what? Their body experiences a lot of stress just because the situation is over. But because you're constantly entertaining these bad thoughts, it's just bringing back these images, that conversation, whatever was said, and it doesn't do us any good.
Right. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I have, I've been divorced for a long time, but I do have, a girlfriend, and I have the, utmost respect for her, and she's, a hell of a woman. I mean, I've gotten to be better about who I choose to, get involved with. I mean, you kind of accidentally meet somebody, right? But it's like, you have to have your own boundaries, or, like your own requirements, I guess. And I used to just not be good about that, and I finally have a partner, and I say finally because honestly this is probably the most solid relationship I've probably ever had, honestly. And it's built on a lot of respect, mutual respect, and just treating each other civilly. Like, there's moments of disagreement or argument, or there can be discussion, but there's got to be a certain level of respect that you don't cross. And I think that, at least one of you always has to be in a position where you can be patient. And the good news, like in my situation, is that, I have my moments where I might be a little agitated, but she may have her moments as well. But, at the same time, as long as you're not both losing your shit, then, things are usually okay. And I think part of that has to do with, who you're engaging with in whatever kind of relationship it is. You always hear about all these personality tests, even for people you're going to hire to work with you and stuff. I think that, going a level further, like I'm not saying give someone you date your personality test, but I'm just saying like you could almost know up front if you're going to get along or not, just knowing what kind of personality they are, right? Like if they're doing the DISC assessment or the Myers-Briggs or whatever, right? Like a lot of people have just done those. And so you can even ask them like, well, what are you, you know? And, you know, like in the DISC assessment, like I'm a DI, so I'm high D and I. It's like, for me, my support operations person needs to be more on the SC, more on the, you know, like you complement each other, right? So I think that if you're going to be either a romantic relationship or a business relationship, like anyone you're going to engage with all the time, I think it gives you an advantage up front to know your personality type as well, because that's going to say a lot, you know, just as a foundation, you know.
Absolutely. And like, you know, like I totally get what you're saying. Like, but that's the thing. Like, for example, when you when you're in a relationship, it's like nobody's ever going to be at 100. Well, it's not that nobody's ever going to be at 100. Like you can be at 100. If you have a life and you know your life is stressed, your life is this, your life is that, you know, and you sometimes not every day is going to be a great day or even a good day or even an okay day. Some days are going to be shit, right? And you know, you get home and you do this and you do that, and you know, sometimes, you know, one person has to, you know, it's not about being both at 100 or both at 50. Sometimes, you know, I can give you 20, right? And I mean, can you fill up my 80, right? I mean, is, you know, and sometimes, you know, like she's gonna be at 20, right? Then I mean, I can be your 80. I don't give a shit, you know. Like, is there anything I can do to, you know, like, you know, help you, or you know, like, is there anything like you want me to buy something for you that you know you'd like now, or you know, like, but like not like, you know, like not, you know, like just something, you know, small, you know, or would you like me to do something for you, you know, like whatever, you know, like something that could make the person feel heard, understood, you know, and really have patience to deal with that person, right? Because
I agree with Toby.
All right.
Well, and that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I hear where Toby's coming from. I mean, the thing is that it's a kind of a, depending on how savvy your partner is, you know, it's a fine line to be leaning on your partner, like especially like, let's say from a man's perspective, you know, a woman wants to know that you're 100% strong on your own. You know, because when you look at the basic needs for your partner, right? Like a woman wants stability, wants to feel protected, wants, you know, to feel taken care of. And I think that where I agree where you're coming from, and I think in a relationship, I think we're all going to have our days. And so I agree that sometimes you need to be picked up. It's just tricky though, because some partners are just not, they're going to worry, especially if you're getting to know your partner, or even if it's your business or whatever. It's kind of, it can be a little stressful, especially like if you're the male, right? Or I had to be careful because now there's relationships with all kinds of whatever. So if you're the masculine energy, let's just go there, because it's hard to keep up nowadays with all the different setups. But basically, you know, you have to kind of, you lay out like what your expectations are, and your partner's going to have their expectations, and, you know, hopefully you meet and it works, right? But when you're getting to know somebody, you can say whatever you want, but actions speak louder than words. And if there's not a consistency in, you know, if you're having a lot of bad days in a row and they feel like they're having to pick up that percentage, then that can create the problem. And that can cause them to lose their patience, or vice versa. It could be you carrying all the slack. Trust me, I've had moments where I'm like carrying I feel like I'm the one putting in all the effort, carrying all the load. And while trying to be patient, just because you're being patient doesn't mean that in the back of your mind you're getting frustrated or annoyed or irritated. You know, that can actually create a breaking point, right? So being patient can become being tolerant. Being tolerant can get to a limit, right? Exactly. So I mean, I understand what you're saying. I just think it's tricky. It's tricky out there, and you know, obviously there's a lot of different relationships, whether it's business and whether it's, you know, man, woman, 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 man, or whatever, you know, whatever people, whatever kind of relationships you have. It just, I don't want to like leave anyone out, but my experience obviously is in man, woman. And so I'm just kind of referring to my experience from, you know, the whole masculine, being an alpha male, and kind of how that plays in. And yeah, anyway. Yeah, I like what Toby's saying. Loving yourself unconditionally. Yeah, that's
Yeah, and
you
but
have to love yourself first before you
yes,
can love anyone else, and that is so true. That is so true.
Then I
but
have
I
a
just
question for you
want
though.
to add, can I just add, and then Bruno, you can
Yeah, sure.
take the
You
stage.
first. You first.
Yeah, all I wanted to add is, like, in my perception also, it has to be 100%, because if one person puts 100%, another one is expected to do the same. And I agree that there are some days when somebody is not feeling 100%, but for the most of the time, that's the way the relationship has to go. It has to be, two people put in the effort and put in the 100% of that effort, not just, like, okay, he can do that or she can do that. No, it has to be 100% from both people.
Yeah, because that'll create that bitterness, right? That'll create that, eventually, like that person's gonna just get to a point where they're just fed up. They're like, you know what? I've been putting in
Exactly.
100% the whole time, and I don't feel like I don't feel like that's being reciprocated. And at some point, especially if you're, mature and in your relationship, or just mature in general, where you've had your experiences, you just kind of have your own boundary. You gotta have your own boundaries so you're not taken advantage of, or misled, or just taken for granted. Because sometimes people that are very giving are taken advantage of or taken for granted, and it's probably more often than not, honestly.
Yeah. Bruno,
Nice.
what does it come for you?
No, I was gonna ask a question. It's like, because you obviously Shane was talking about like the difference between tolerance and patience, right? Like, for example, like, do you believe, like, like, for example, like, because what I believe is that, like, I think tolerance is like, I don't want to be patient, but I'm gonna tolerate it, right? I'm gonna give you, like, no, maybe, this time is fine, right? But I think, like, when you're actually patient is like, because when you tolerate, you don't try to understand because you think it's a one-time thing. But I think, like, when you're actually patient, you actually try to understand. Like, you actually put effort in it. Because, like, you sit down with a woman, right? As men, right? We sit down with a woman, right? And Irene is here to prove it either right or wrong, either she agrees or she doesn't, right? But if we sit down on the couch or whatever, we sit down with a woman, right? Then we're like, okay, so what's going on? Like, what's happening? Like, talk to me. What's going on, right? And you're there, and you're asking questions, and you're listening, and you're answering, right? And you're not even giving them solutions. You're just listening to them, right? You're just listening. You're just paying attention. You're just whatever, right? And that is one thing, right? Another thing is that you're there and you're like, yeah, yeah. That, like, nodding your head to a woman is like that. She'll know that you're not listening, right? Because she feels the energy. It's just like you look like one of those toys that you put on the cars and you shake the head and they go like this.
The bobbleheads.
Yeah, the bobbleheads. Yeah, right. So for me, like that's kind of the difference, like, I mean, between like tolerance and patience, right? But I really love that analogy. I love it.
Well, you just reminded me too of active listening. I mean, if you really want to listen to your partner, then you want to repeat back what they said, just to make sure you're hearing it the way they're saying it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like advanced shit right there. Like, if you're actually doing that, like, you get the gold star for the day, right? Because that's like,
we do that in business as well.
Level
to get that second yes.
Well, but for the business perspective, to prevent misunderstandings and to protect yourself in liability and stuff, like even in real estate, if you have verbal conversations about stuff, the best practice is to go do a summary email after you get off the phone or off that conversation. You go to your email, you send them an email, hey, I just want to recap what we discussed, and just to make sure that you understood them correctly. And so there's documented the conversation you had, because down the line there's misunderstandings, both in real estate, business, personal relationships. Like, sometimes you're listening, but the point is not being conveyed. Like, you're hearing one thing, they're saying another thing. And so that's why, if it's business, I would recap it in an email. If it's personal, then active listening is probably a good way to handle it, just on the spot, saying, I hear what you're saying. So you're saying this, and this, but then I need to do this. And you want to do that, because then that'll create a much healthier communication. And then maybe the patience won't become tolerance. Maybe you'll stay in the patient zone.
So, Shane, what did work for you when, like you look back at the years where you weren't as patient? What actually worked for you? Can you like share with the audience something that bring you to the state that you are in today? More aware, more mature, more patient.
Well, I would make this determination. Like I was so passionate about certain things, right? Like, no, it has to be done this way. And no, you have to follow the rule. This is the way this is going to be. I was so focused on that result that I stopped listening to what they wanted. Like, it's the client, you're the professional. And because I'm referring to a business situation. So, they're the client, you're the professional, you're supposed to lead them. But they're also, intelligent, and, I don't want to say, I mean, I work with people of all levels of intelligence. It's like, if they're saying they want something a certain way or, whatever it may be, don't be stubborn and just go right. Don't push them. Like I would get irritated, be like, no, it's like this. Versus now, it's like I'm more patient. I listen. It's like, you know what? I usually go this way, but I can do that. Like I recently on a transaction, and we're closing in the next couple of days. I had a scenario where clients like, well, I'd really like to put it at this price. And I thought about it and I looked at the numbers, thought, you know what? We can work with that. But in the past, it's like, hell no, this is why. And, it's like you get so focused on your point that then you're not listening. So not only you're not being patient, now you're not listening. So now it's like, not only are you, it's almost like doing damage, but in a different way. Now you're damaging the relationship because in the future, they're going to be like, you know what? Like, yeah, we may have gotten our result, but we didn't enjoy butting head. Like the guy was bullying us. It's our house or our sale or our $1 million. And he was pushing us to do it his way. And yeah, we hired him. He's the expert, but we feel like he didn't listen to us. Right. So it's listening to people's needs and actually being patient and evaluating that there's more than one way to get things done. Don't automatically jump on defense. Because it was like right away, it's like, what do you mean you want to do it that way? Or what are you talking about? No, it's like this. And so that's something that I've caught myself. And looking back, I have moments of regret, even moments where I lost the opportunities to do business because I was so stubborn about not adjusting my fee. No, this is the fee, this is it. When I could have just gotten off that ego on that and maybe found a creative way to get there. Okay, well, here's the deal. We won't charge the fee here, but then if you pick up this expense over here, because there's a chance that they can mentally feel good taking their path and I could still get the same result. But if I'm trying to force feed them the result that I want, the way I want to do it, then we can end up at an impasse, or I could get that result, but then they're not happy. Well, how about getting the same result in a different way by actually listening to the other person? It's like, oh, it was like an aha moment. It's like you could actually both get a win-win in a different way. It doesn't have to be just your way. And if you listen to them, then when they get this fantastic result, they're going to be like, oh my God, he was awesome. This was amazing. He got us more than we expected. He even took our feedback and worked with our feedback. And even though we're not super experienced with all this, he was able to work in how we wanted to see things and still get this fantastic result. And then everybody's happy versus like, well, how was your experience? Well, he got us an amazing result, but we just didn't really enjoy this, and this. You see what I mean? So you can actually create a win-win by keeping an open mind. So if you're patient and step back and don't talk too fast, because that's the problem. It's like, I'm so good at this and so used to doing this that it's like automatic, like you're on autopilot. And you forget that, like, for instance, selling a house, someone might do it once in their life. And you forget that you do this every day. And you're so at this other level that you forget that maybe they have questions, maybe they don't understand. And then the other thing is that sometimes if they're going to say something or ask something, you're automatically being defensive. You're automatically being defensive because you're assuming they're going to attack something that you're doing. When in reality, it's an innocent question because they don't understand, right? But you're already on defense. You're like, you know what I mean? So that, Irina, is what I've learned over the last few years. And that's where I've pulled back and tried to be better. I'm not perfect. There's still moments. And I can't be, I'm too righteous sometimes. Too righteous about this is how it is, the best way, this is how it goes. And I'm learning how to back off of that and be a better listener and not assume something negative every time somebody has something to say different.
I love it. You know what I'm hearing as well? It's sometimes just to step back and have that, ability to listen to what the other person say and kind of understand their point of view rather than just have our point of view in mind, right? Whatever we want, right? So
Right.
I think it's like you mentioned, it's a win-win situation when we become these active listeners and we know that nothing's set in stone. So it's all about just working into about this together, right? So together it's always more powerful.
No,
Bruno,
totally.
what about you?
No, like I was listening, and I agree 100%. I was just observing. I agree 100% with everything that was being said. I think, like, like 50-50 win is always best business, but also for relationship, obviously. Um, because that's the thing, like ego ruins friendships, ruins marriages, ruins family stuff, ruins business deals, ruins business partnerships, ruins everything, right? um and obviously this is more in terms of cheating, right? But for example, like I'd never trust, like if I had a business partner, right? And that business partner cheated on his wife or cheated on his husband, I could never fucking trust him or her, right? Because that person will do the same with me, right? But that's cheating, it doesn't matter. That's, I
You
mean, it
just
doesn't matter.
reminded me. You just reminded me of something. I forget where I saw this, but there was this one guy that before he did business with someone, he would take the guy to play golf, and he wanted to see how this guy was on the golf course. And if the guy cheated on his score or anything like that, that was automatic. Like, I'm not gonna do business with this guy. Funny, you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
reminded me of that. That's just randomly. I don't remember where I saw that, but that is such a good test. I didn't even think about that. That is such a good test of someone's character, because if they do it in one area, they're gonna do it in the other area. The other thing too is I'm a very loyal, faithful person, and I'm not into this whole cheating open relationship bullshit. Like, that just doesn't fly with me. I'm traditional in that aspect, and so I couldn't do business with someone who cheats on their wife, and I couldn't be pulled in or be involved with trying to cover or being. I could never be involved in any of that. That's a big moral ethics thing for me, and so that's interesting you bring up that point because, yeah, in partnerships, you know, that's beyond the patient's tolerance. That's like no go. That's like game over for me
Yeah.
at any point. I don't give a shit. Like, you can't buy me. So if I'm gonna lose millions of dollars because I'm not gonna move on with this, I'm walking away. Because my principle, for me, my principles trump any potential financial gain. Like that's just dirty. Like, that's just dirty to me. Like, I couldn't, my conscience, like, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I'd rather be like, broke in a shack than, thriving financially with someone who is either cheating on their partner, ripping people off, poisoning people with some product that's toxic,
Yeah.
but that they think is like, you know what I mean? There's just,
Yeah, scamming.
yeah, that's a whole nother, that could be like a whole nother session,
No,
you
no,
know?
that'd be another hour, bro.
Yeah,
That'd be another
it'd be
fucking
multiple
hour.
hours. I'm talkative, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely got to be boundaries there. But I love that you just totally reminded me about that, how to test your partnership, with the whole trust, and how they are in other situations is how they're going to be with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you got to be cautious too. You can't be too impulsive. You can't just make that decision on one experience. I think you can if you want to, if you're willing to be hardcore like that. But I think case by case, you got to evaluate. I've had, I had a couple instances in like romantic relationships where there's been some sort of a misstep, or maybe just a situation that wasn't what's in line with what my values or my principles are, and there's been the ability to work through some of that. It just depends on what it is. Like, I definitely have hard boundaries on certain things.
Thank you, Bruno. So how do you, improve your patience?
Well, I mean, what worked for me was really like, because I swear to God, like, like I think a man's biggest enemy is ego and women's biggest enemy is temperance. And guess what? Both of them need patience to overcome it. When you're in the heat of the moment, it takes a very brave person to really like just stand down and just stop and just like take a deep breath, and like, because that's the thing, like if you take a deep breath but you try the same thing over and over again, you're eventually going to lose your shit, because if it's not working, it's not working, right? So it's like okay, have your deep breath, but then try something else to get to the same spot, right? So
Well, you're talking about the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing but expecting a different result, right?
yeah, almost, until you just go like, psychotic. Right? Which is just, it's but that's the thing, like because you can be annoyed and then you can be angry and then you can feel insane, and then when you become psychotic, it's like you something inside of you snapped. It's like you snap and then like, that's it, Jesus Christ. But it's like you wanna kill it on the root, like, of the problem, right? Like you wanna just sit down and just breathe, and try to find something else, like to either go distract yourself and then come back to the problem, and maybe something will download some answer. But like trying to like hit the rock until it breaks, again, like, right, there's no point in forcing something that it's just at the moment is not working, right? Like if somebody's feeling annoyed and whatever, like take a 2-3 minute, take a 2, 3, 4, 5 minute break, as long as you need to cool off and then come back, right? Because honestly, like being angry, being whatever, surely doesn't help anybody, right? So guess what? If you didn't manage to get your answer or something isn't going your way, it's not getting angry that it's gonna like make it work, right? Because like you need your brain calm. You need to be calm to think properly. So it's like, it's just, yeah.
I love it. I love it what you had to share. And yes, practicing breathing, deep breath, a few deep breath, right? In the moment, it really helps you to kind of calm your nervous system down and think and give you that time to reflect and pause before you say something that might hurt another person and doesn't serve you well. So I think it's all about just finding the way what works for you. Another great tool is you can actually pick up new skill or hobby and see how much patience you would need in order to really learn about it, knowing that everything takes time, right? And patience is also the process. So it's not like something just comes to us immediately, right? So if we become intentional and this is something that we want to develop, we can focus our mind to it. And whenever we focus our mind on something, we can actually master it, right? And so it would be pick up the skill or pick up the hobby and start developing it. And obviously that requires the patience from you, right? Because you know that this is the process. Nothing is going to be done fast and learned quickly, right? So you would have to have the patience in the process. Another great tool is, like to kind of slow down the pace. You can just start to put the puzzle together. Because when we are in the process of putting the puzzle together, we are slowing down ourselves and we learn how to be living in the moment and to take our time to actually do something and think about something before we actually come up with the reaction, right? So we learn how to respond rather than react in any given situation. So these are also very important tools. And obviously communication, right? Toby says open, honest communication. Yes, exactly. So I think everything is process, right? No matter what we take, and patience is important. in relationships to ourselves, and in the relationships with others, right? Business relationships, any kind of relationships, right? So patience is a virtue, and everybody can develop that skill. It's all about if people really want to do that, right? Because a lot of people don't even want to hear about it. They just say, I want to be the way I am, and you have to accept me or not, right? So a lot of people don't understand how important it is to be patient. But again, like Shanne mentioned, being patient, but at the same time, know your boundaries, right?
Oh yeah,
Always know. So this way people don't take advantages, and when you have to like to step away from the situation, and when you see that that relationship doesn't serve as much as you are trying to be patient, as much as you are trying to make these things work, right? If the things are not getting better because another person doesn't come halfway towards, I mean, then you have to make a decision for yourself, correct?
totally. And you got to know what your limit is. And some of us are too nice. We drag it out too far.
Yeah, totally, totally. So it's all about just just to wrap it up. Everything requires patience, and this is something that we continuously growing, right? It doesn't matter how patient you can be. There is always room for improvement, right? Because as long as we are living, breathing, we continuously grow and we continuously improving ourselves. So it never hurts to continue practice it. It never hurts to learn it from a different perspective, to go deeper into that. And any other advice for our listeners before we say goodbye?
Well, one thing you touched on is when you're actively engaged in a conversation. And I didn't mention this earlier, but I was horrible about, like, if you get a nasty email or get a nasty comment, you wanted to fire right back. I think stepping away from your keyboard, huge tip. And this was when I was younger. It was instant, like, oh crap, I can't unsay that, right? Now it's like step away. Usually I call my assistant and I was like, I'm annoyed right now. Check this out. Okay, step away from the keyboard. So yeah, I think that stepping away, gathering yourself, the deep breaths I heard earlier, that's a good one. There's a lot of things you could put into practice to be better. You just have to be in the right mindset before you respond, even especially if you're not super patient. Like, teach yourself to at least step away. You're not going to change overnight. You're not going to become suddenly so patient, but there's things you can do to balance yourself out a little bit. And I think removing yourself from the situation till you're in a calmer place, that's the best for highly heated, aggressive people.
Love it, love it. And it's all about, what do we do in this moment? We just shift our focus, right? Rather than pouring that energy into something that doesn't serve us, we just step away and we focus our mind on something else, and we just recalibrate our energetic state right at the moment. Bruno, any words, any advice?
That's it. Step away from the keyboard. Take a minute patience. You could write how you feel. Write how you feel. Chuck the paper in the bin.
Yeah, journal.
Journaling. We didn't talk about journaling. That's actually a great one. It's also good to keep one by your bed for those things that keep you up at night. So yeah, that's a great one to bring up. Bruno wouldn't even talk about that.
Yeah, you can. Well, it's always going mad. You could also, I don't know, what could you also do? You could meditate.
Yes, absolutely.
And that
Meditation
will
is
really work
powerful.
on your patience, and that will really work on your patience, because you'll be there for like two. First time I ever meditated, I was there for like a minute too. I'm like, fuck this shit. This is so boring. It pushes you to stay there, and breathe in. Like, what am I doing? Like, why? I can breathe up. I can go to the gym and breathe. Like I can go for a walk and breathe. I can do so many fucking things to breathing. Why do I have to sit down here and breathe? Like wasting my time. And then when I really kind of was like, oh no, wait a second, I'm starting to feel this way. And then you start to become aware of your things, like, and you start to flow. And you're like, you're in the clouds and stuff, like, and then that works on your patience, right? Because then getting to that feeling is the easiest part. Then you want to maintain yourself in it, right? But that's the thing. Like, when you're in that position, is like, seeing how far you can go is the worst objective you can have. You just want to sit there, and let time pass and just sit there, right? That's it. Like, that's it.
Yes. So yeah, so we kind of shared great tools and tips for everybody who's going to be watching, if you want to try and see, because like you mentioned, Bruno, why is meditation so good? Because it brings you in the present moment, and it just allows you to really feel the feelings and just be more aware. So that's the most important thing about meditation. Yeah. So look, see whatever fits you, whatever you want to try, and we would be happy if you can share with us what you do to practice to be more patient. We would love to know your thoughts in the comments. And Toby, thank you so much for being our woohoo participant and Raven fan. It was beautiful. We had lots of laughing today. So thanks so much for bringing your energy today. And Shane, we are so grateful for you. And come back
thank you guys.
anytime.
It's fun being here.
Yes, come back anytime. And everybody else, we'll see you on the next episode next week. Till then, we love you too. Bye.